Hey people, guess what? Anthony 4x4 Diesel with some information for you on the best tyres for you, the best value for money. We've got some new information on some tyres. So this is what I want to tell you, just quickly. There's lots of different tyres. If it's a passenger vehicle, then I prefer to stick with the known brands, but something value for money. When I say known brands, well, my car's owned by Continental now. Continental are good tyres and they seem to last pretty well. And other brands, Bridgestones, Dunlops, Yokohamas, whatever you like for your passenger vehicle. So tyres, horses for courses, right? So your passenger vehicles, you get the drift. On our Camry, the last tyres I put was some Continentals. They were about, I don't know, 170, 180 bucks. Really grippy tyres, really quiet. Performed really well. They were lasting as good as any other tyre. The car came with, what were they, the Bridgestone, what are they, Bridgestone protectors? They were okay too, nothing wrong with those, but the Continentals were better. So you go for the value for money, but stick with a quality brand because it's a matter of life and death. There's not much between you and the road, as they say, right? In the Goodyear ad, Goodyear, not a bad brand, but have a look where the tyres are made. Try and stick with quality countries. Like, I prefer made in Japan or quality countries, you know what I mean? You know, quality. Try and avoid those cheaper, countries that make tyres. Now, when it comes to four-wheel drive tyres, there's a lot more we can talk about, and that's what we're going to talk about. And I don't get sponsored by KO2 bloody BFGs or anything like that, but we do a lot of full driving. We see a lot of vehicles in the workshop. We see a lot of tyres. We see where we talk to customers. It's not about me. I'm not bragging, but I've probably got more tyre feedback than anybody else, other than maybe a tyre shop, but they don't bother talking to people like what I do, right? People don't gather information like what I do. So on our vehicles, we've got all KO2s, right? On the touring vehicle, because they're the most reliable touring tyre. When I say that, I mean, so we do a trip with 10 cars, my trip, someone else's trip, whatever, 10 cars thereabouts, outback trips, mate, none of them have ever had any problems, no punches, anything. I'm not saying you can't get a punch, I'm just saying this is what's happened. Maybe it's a coincidence, okay? But whenever there's one car that's got Coopers, and there's been a number of trips where there's one car that's got Coopers, and there's been a number of times that Coopers are the one that's got one or two punches, while all the other sets of BFGs have zero. So to me, that's my survey, that's my statistics, and I find the same talking to other people, whether it's at camps, whether it's at stations or caravan parks or down the pub, in the Prada Hospital workshop, you guys reading the comments on our Facebook groups, whatever. The facts is what we look at. On the tracks, we've got the BFG KO2s for our track tyres as well, because overall they are a really grippy tyre. Now, a lot of people have got other tyres and they say, oh, I've got these, and they do. Well, it depends what tracks and what conditions you're using them in, and there might not be much in it. Now, we've got people that have brought out Grand Treks on the tracks, and they do well too. I've used Grand Treks on the tracks. They do really well. Yeah, they're great tyres, right? You know, in the drier conditions, or the conditions that are on a surface that when it is a bit damp, it's still got good traction. So it's not really a fair comparison. Of course, they're more prone to sidewall punches. We've tried some different mud tyres, some different all-terrain tyres. One of the last ones that you may remember, we tried the Dunlop Grand Trek AT3Gs. They're an all-terrain tyre, and I noticed every time I went off-road, which wasn't that many times, they seemed to get a lot of scuffing on the sidewall, and it was not due to the thinner sidewall was allowing the tyre to bag out much more easily, just like some other tyres. There's some Coopers that are like that as well. There's a number of tyres that they just bag out more, so therefore the sidewall's closer to the possible damage area. You know, a really bad one is those Dunlop, whatever they are, I think, what are they, the 697s, whoever makes them, right? You know, quick example, 30, 40 cars in the high country, half of them with KO2, zero punches, the other half with all sorts of different tyres, including KM2s, Coopers, this, that, and the other. There was about 4 cars with 697s, 4 cars got punches, right? On the same track, not on the same day. So it's more than just the odds are, I believe. But yeah, let's just say it's just a coincidence, right? Then I look at the tread of these Wild Peaks that are really popular at the moment. They are popular at the moment. There's no issue there. They are very popular. And people love them. but I'm afraid they're driving them on the road a lot, you know. I mean, if you're talking about tyres, oh, I love them, they're quiet, they're grippy on the road, they're great in the wet, and oh yeah, you've taken on some tracks, but it was dry and it wasn't rough and all that, then you're not really comparing tyres to what we're comparing. When we recommend the rip-off, and I want to be clear, the KOs, the BFGs are rip-offs, and there's plenty of other tyres to try. I will get to that. I'm not pushing KOs. I'm just telling you that they are, in my opinion, still the most reliable off-road tyre for the outback touring, and grippy for the tracks and reliable on the tracks out of all our trips. The only KO2 that I could think of that went down was one that on a 120 that it's got that fixed valve stem that got knocked by a rock at a river crossing, bent that, broke it off, of course. That's not the tyre, but it went down. And then my tyre, the KO2, I've had 2 punches. I'm not saying you can't get punches, but they're the only ones that I've ever seen on any of our trips. And one was that, you know, tradie nail off the, what I say, the Pasload or whatever nail on Billy Goats a few years ago. Went down slowly, had a nail in it. And then out back, we were out at Mount Ive, and I think I picked up turned out to be an old thread tap in the tyre, which I repaired at Wimmera there on the ground there, and we put a plug in. It's all in a video, right? That's the only KOs that have ever gone down. All the other vehicles, you know, for example, you know, don't need to make it. All the people on our trips, most of them have got KO2s, and none of them had a flat tyre, right? So people that know, people that use them like this, they're the people in the know. So if you need that reliability, then it might make you sick, but you might want to pay that money. Or you might not even run 2 sets of tyres and just put them on. I don't buy into when they get older, 8 years, the rubber's, you know, gone hard and all that. I'm running some 8-year-old KO2s at the moment, pushing them around in the wet, and they work fine. So my KO2s, I'm going to try and make them last. I'm going to try and keep one set really good for when we need deep tread, like snow trips, if it's a bit more muddy, that sort of thing. I might even invest in a set of mud tyres, maybe something a bit cheaper, because they're just going to be on for the mud. Maybe a set of road tyres. I know someone that recently got a set of Yokohamas. I can't remember the model, but they look really decent for off-road. I'd probably choose those over the Wild Peaks. Recently we had some Wild Peaks that were damaged. Could be just a coincidence, but we'll be keeping an eye on those. But they do look good for on the road. But if it's for on the road, these Yokohamas, I choose those for traction and price are only $295 he paid. I note that some tyre sellers do the buy 3 get the 4 free deal on those as well. That's one cheap set of 4 tyres. So look at the Yokohamas if you're on road with a little bit of off-road. Each to their own. There's my tyre talk, and we'll do a bit more tyre talk at a later date some other time, where we give you a bit more feedback. We've got to see what these Wild Peaks do. There's a few people running them. I've noted so far the traction just isn't as good as the KO2s and some of the other tyres, but they're great on the road and they're good enough for drive. Thanks for listening to me. Hope it's helped you. Catch you on the next video, people. See ya.